Greetings to you all. Today's teaching comes out of John 3:16, and the title is "The Width and Length and Depth and Height" from Ephesians 3:18. So we'll read these together. John 3:16 reads, "And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son be lifted up, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have eternal life. For God did not send his only Son to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved." The Voice translation in part reads, "For God expressed his love for the world in this way. He gave his only Son so that whoever believes in him will not face everlasting destruction." Here is the point. God didn't send his Son into the world to judge it. Instead, he is here to rescue the world headed toward certain destruction. So this is the love of God, which is with a width and length and depth and height that we cannot understand. It's a boundless love, but it is not an unconditional love. I think I'll be able to explain that or dwell on that point a little later. It is a boundless love, but it comes with certain conditions. You have to accept it. If you don't accept it, acceptance is a condition. In Luke, Simeon, when Jesus was taken to the temple on the 8th day for the circumcision ceremony, in Luke 2:30 to 32 reads, "For my eyes have seen your salvation," talking about Christ, that he's the salvation, "which you have prepared before the face of all people," which God has prepared in the face of all people, "a light to bring revelation to the Gentiles and the glory of your people Israel." So here we know that Christ not only came for Israel, because we know that salvation is through Israel, through the Jews, but also it was extended. It's extended. It's also thereafter it included. It was taken to all the world, which is the Gentile world. In Revelations 3:9, it reads, "Indeed, I will make those of the synagogue of Satan who say they are Jews and are not, but lie. Indeed, I will make them come and worship before your feet, and to know that I have loved you." This is a point that I have touched on in previous teachings, that the scattered people of Christ are among the Gentiles, and they have not, and he has not really gathered them as yet. And therefore, for those people who are dominating or monopolizing political power and other types of power in Israel are not the scattered Jews, because the scattered Jews he has not gathered them yet. So we are still among the Gentiles. And for that grouping in Israel to shut down everybody from telling the truth and using their political power and control of the media and using his brothers, the Western world, to accuse and slander and shut down anybody who tells people the truth is just a sign of the fraud that has been played, that has been perpetrated upon the scattered people of God. And but anyway, this will become evident as we go along, and it is, especially in the end times, it is becoming, it will, if it has not already, become clearer to a lot of people. We still have the 144,000 who are Jews, and we are still having the two prophets who are Jews, and we know that the Jews have not been gathered yet, have not been regathered. So Their claim is basically not based in reality, but basically supported by the control of the media and the political influence and power that they wield in various countries. So basically, the salvation is of the Jews. The Jews are not back in Israel. And Matthew 10:23 reads, and it supports this in part when he says, when you are persecuted, this is the New Living Translation, when you are persecuted in one town, this is Christ talking, flee to the next. I tell you the truth, the Son of Man will not return before you have reached all the towns of Israel. It says, the Son of Man will return before you have reached all the towns of Israel. That's the New Living Translation. The Living Bible translation reads, when you are persecuted in one city, flee to the next. I will return before you have reached them all. And the New English Translation reads, whenever they persecute you in one town, flee to another. I tell you the truth, you will not finish going through all the towns of Israel before the Son of Man comes. So what he's saying, you are speaking the present and in the future. Christ is not going to come back before the word has gone out through to all Israel. Remember that he scattered them and drove them out of Judea and Jerusalem. So basically, Israel is still is under the control and is being trampled upon by the Gentiles. And in the end times, especially in the periods that is fast approaching, these are the end times, there will be a great revival. And people, the Hebrews who took the gospel out, are going to come back, will preach the gospel throughout the world again, and will take it to Israel as the final point, the great finale. And this is where the two prophets feature, and this is where the 144,000 feature, when the Jews from all over the world, those who are appointed to do it, will converge on Israel and preach the gospel in Israel, having also preaching it throughout all the world. So, coming back to the great love, this great boundless love, in John 15:9, it reads, as the Father loved me, I have loved you, abide in my love. This is Jesus speaking. And then he goes on in John 10:16, and he says basically, the other sheep I have which are not of this fold, them also I must bring, and they will hear my voice, and will be one flock and one shepherd. And there will be one flock and one shepherd. So the two flocks that he's talking about, the two folds which have to be made one are basically the Hebrew people and the Gentiles who come to him, and he will be the one shepherd. So the two are going to become one. But clearly, especially in Revelation, this is very clear that there are things that concern only the Hebrew people, and also things that concern the Gentiles, but he is going to put them together into one flock. In Romans 5, verses 8 and 9, it reads, but God demonstrates his love towards us, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Much more than, having now been justified by his blood, we shall be saved from wrath through him. So this is the boundless stuff we're talking about, that he didn't wait for you to be cleaned up. Whilst you were still dirty, he says, I love you, and I'm going to work on you, I'm going to clean you up, I'm going to transform you to be the image of my beloved Son, Christ. And this is the love that surpasses all understanding, that he didn't wait for you like we normally do as humans, that if I say I love you and you tell me get lost, then I just kind of, most of the time anyway, or generally people would just say, well, this is not for me, let me try the next one. But he says, whilst you were as filthy as you were, as dirty as you were, sinners, I love you. But allow me to do what I need to do. Now, this is contrary to what normally happens in how we judge things, and this is in James 2, verses 2 to 4, which reads, For if there should come into the assembly a man with gold rings in fine apparel, and they should also come in a poor man with filthy rags, and you will pay attention to the one who wears the splendid apparel and say to him, sit here in this preferable seat, while you tell the poor man, stand there or sit there on the floor at my feet. And this is how we judge. We judge by appearances. God doesn't do that. So, coming back to an earlier point, that whilst we're sinners, He died for us, is that the truth of the matter is that we, in Isaiah 64:6 reads, but we are all like an unclean thing, and all our righteousness are like filthy rags. We all fade as a leaf, and our iniquities, like the wind, have taken us away. In Job 15 to 16 reads, if God puts no trust in His saints, and the heavens are not pure in His sight, how much less man who is abominable and filthy, who drinks iniquity like water. So basically, none of us are righteous, and we are filthy rags. And the righteousness that we have is not of our own. It's not our own righteousness, but the righteousness of Christ. We can never attain that on our own. So, but at the same time, there must be a willingness on our part to be transformed into the image of His beloved Son. That is a condition of salvation. You must be transformed into the image of Christ. Now, and we also know, Job, that the heavens are not pure. We know that there was a rebellion in heaven as there was a rebellion on earth as we rebel against Him. So there are two rebellions here. So Job, to that is very correct there. That the heavens are not pure. There were people rebelled, Lucifer, the watcher angels, the council of gods. So God's council with his gods who He had assigned to preside over the affairs of various countries on earth, whilst He created a new nation for Himself, which is Israel. So anyway, to underscore this point, I would like to refer to Matthew 22:14. This is the parable that Jesus spoke about the kingdom of heaven being portrayed in this way. It says that a certain king who arranged a marriage for his son, and he sent out invitations to the wedding. So when he had done all the necessary preparations, all the food was ready, the tables had been laid and everything, he sent his servants to invite everybody, telling that, yeah, everything's ready now, can you come? And then, but the people who were invited, then they made light of it all and went their ways, one saying that he's going to his farm, the other one saying that he's just gotten married and he needs to pay attention to this and that. And anyway, the king was furious. So he sent out his armies and destroyed all those murderers and burned up the city. So here, the people who had been invited were not righteous. We were sinners as we were, and we refused to come. Or we can put it another way. I'm sure there are others who did who went as invited, but there are others who would dance both sides of the street. One, when it suits them, they are doing this, and when it doesn't suit them, they are doing their own other things. They are neither here nor there. But as we know that as far as God is concerned, if you're not for Him, then you're against Him. So, yeah, this is the situation. So anyway, so then he's decided that, okay, fine, these people I've invited, they don't want to come. This will say that the invitation went out primarily to the Hebrew people. Some of them came, some of them didn't. So he told his servants, he says, now, okay, therefore, go into the highways and invite as many as you find to the wedding, so that the servants, and they went out into the highways and gathered together all whom they found, both good and bad, and the wedding hall was filled with guests. So everybody was invited. This is the invitation that he sent out, and people came, the good and the bad. Then he goes on to say that when they had all gathered into the hall, and he saw a certain man who did not have a wedding garment, and he said to him, "Friend, how did you come in here without a wedding garment?" And he was speechless. Then these are the lukewarm people who are neither here nor there. And the king said to the servants, bind him hand and foot, take him away and cast him into the utter darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So the message of this particular parable is that many are called, but few are chosen. But insofar as the people we see this in the Bible. When Christ was on earth, he said he was sent to the Hebrew people, to the Jews. But there are a lot of other people who were watching attentively and who watched him and were spiritually alert. You've got the Syrophoenician woman, you've got the centurion who were not Hebrew, but who had a great faith because they were alert and sensitive to the Spirit. And they were approaching God. They were literally gate crashing. So we have a situation here that there are invitations. God sends invitations to everybody. Having sent invitations to everybody, he goes on to say that many are called from the people who have been invited. How they respond, those that respond positively have been called. And when the called ones are there and the testing begins, then we have but few are chosen. Now, this is what we're going to have at the end of this age. The people who are going to enter the millennium are going to be the ones who are, so to speak, the called ones. Yeah, because there will be some survivors who go into the millennium, and they will now will rectify all the mistakes that man has made. And this is my thinking, that to them will be born all the children that we've aborted along the way, the people who didn't have a chance to live out and to be tested, because this is a testing ground for all humans to enter the kingdom. You cannot get into the kingdom in the post-millennium millennium sense without having been tested on earth. You have to be tested. This is the passage to the new earth, the new heavens and the new earth. So those who did not get a chance have to be accorded that chance. But this is not essential. This is just a point that I'm making. This is how I see things. It's not essential for us as far as the teaching is concerned. And then they're talking about the people who like to dance on both sides of the street, who are neither here nor there. In Isaiah 1:2 it reads, when you come to appear before me, who has required this from you, to trample my courts? That these people who are neither here nor there, we like to go on church on Sunday, and then we sin the other 6 days. We are cleansed, especially from a Roman Catholic point of view. We confess and we are made clean for a few hours, and then we go back to our old ways. Now, he's saying basically, if you're not for me, don't waste your time coming to me. Yeah, because you are not for me. And then in Revelations 3:5 it reads, thus shall he who conquers be clad in white garments, and I will erase or blot out, and I will not erase or blot out his name from the book of life. I will acknowledge him as mine, and I will confess his name openly before my Father and before his angels. In Revelation 17:8, he's talking about the beast, and it reads that this is from the complete Jewish Bible, and it reads, the beast you saw once was, now is not, and will come out from the abyss, Satan, but is on his way to destruction. The people living on the earth whose names have not been written in the book of life since the founding of the world will be astonished to see the beast that once was, now is not, but is to appear. So these are the lovers of Satan. And in Revelations 13:8 it reads, all who dwell on the earth will worship him, that's the beast, whose names have not been written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. So the people, there will be two camps, those for Christ, with Christ, and those who are against Christ, but for Satan or Lucifer. And this will be the position that people will make choices along those ways in these last days, leading up to the millennium, and at the end of the millennium, when Satan is released from the abyss, from the prison that he will have been held in, and he will go about and he will influence the world again and raise a 200 million strong army to attack Israel, to attack God again, and many will fall again. So the fact that the millennium period is without Satan does not necessarily guarantee that everybody will be saved. Some will. When Satan appears on the scene, they will gravitate for whatever reason towards him or to him. In Revelations 11:9 and 10 it reads, those from the peoples and tribes and languages and nations will look at their dead bodies for 3.5 days and will not allow their bodies to be laid in a tomb. And those non-believers who believe on the earth will gloat over them and rejoice, and they will send gifts in celebration to one another, because these two prophets tormented and troubled those who live on the earth. As I alluded to earlier, that the two prophets we're talking about, the two witnesses, will be Hebrews. And whilst this will be a last minute or last stand preaching end time gospel, which will be preached with power, people will find them offensive, and when they are killed by the beast, the Antichrist, the people will gloat and they'll be very happy, and they will think that they've won, and they will say that, no, listen, we want to see their bodies for a memorial, so that we can celebrate their demise and their death, because they were tormenting us. So in Revelations 22:11 it reads, he who is unjust, let him be unjust still. He who is filthy, let him be filthy still. He who is righteous, let him be righteous still. And he who is holy, let him be holy still. So these are the two camps that we have, the righteous and the unrighteous. And that's why we can get such a reaction to the end-time witnesses, prophets, which defies logic. But then we must also understand that in as much as people are blinded by Satan, Satan himself is blinded, and most people are actually blinded by the primary thing. Is cause of it is usually pride. And in Jeremiah 25:33 it reads, and on that day the slain of the Lord shall be from one end of the earth even to the other end of the earth. They shall not be lamented or gathered or buried. They will become refuse upon the ground. Now this is the period coming to the end of the last days, when God's wrath is unleashed on the world, and also the final battle at the end of the millennium. There will be a lot of dead people, and they'll be slain. This is the price that we pay for those who reject God. Now, and I would like to put this in perspective with Luke 16:19 to 31, and this is really the parable of the rich man. I think it's Lazarus and the rich man. Lazarus, the rich man, was having a wonderful time on earth, clad in purple and fine linen, and having a wonderful, luxurious life. And the beggar was suffering and struggling, yet sores, and he was begging for food and crumbs from his table, but he was kicked away, he was thrown away. Anyway, so when they both died, Lazarus finds himself in the bosom of Abraham, and the rich man also died, and he finds himself in Hades, and he saw Abraham afar off, and Lazarus he saw Abraham afar off, and he saw Lazarus in his bosom. Then he cried out and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus that he may dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame. But Abraham said to him, Son, remember that you had your time on earth without me, and you're doing what you are doing with me. Whilst Lazarus was suffering, but he was with me. But now Lazarus is comforted and you are tormented, and besides all this, between us and you, there is a great gulf fixed. It's fixed. Yeah, it cannot be brought together. It cannot be filled. So that those who want to pass from here to you cannot, nor can those from there pass to us. So it's it cannot be, you cannot cross this gulf. And then this man now, in his regret, he says, I beg you therefore, Father, that you send him, Lazarus, to my father's house, for I have 5 brothers, that they may testify to them. Testify, lest they also come to this place of torment. And Abraham answered and said to him, but they have Moses and the prophets, which he had. Let them hear them. And he said, no, Father Abraham, but if one goes to them from the dead, they will repent. But he said, this is Abraham, if they do not hear Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded, though one rise from the dead. The fact that people are coming from dead will not necessarily persuade them. Will not persuade them or change their ways of thinking. So, but this is the regrets that one will have at the end, and when you are in that situation, there's nothing you can do to reverse it. It is fixed. So this is the final point that I want to make, that we need. Let us not live a wasted life that we will regret forever and ever. Remember, there are 2 eternities, and when the gates to salvation is closed, it is forever. And on this point, we will let us have a moment of introspection and meditation from Revelation 10:9 from the Expanded Translation. So I went to the angel and told him to give me the scroll, the small scroll. And he said to me, take the scroll and eat it, a symbol of internalizing the word. It is it will be bitter, sweet. So I went to the angel and told him to give me the small scroll. And he said to me, take the scroll and eat it, symbolizing the internalizing of the word. It will be sour, bitter in your stomach because it is a message of judgment. But in your mouth it will be sweet as honey because it is God's word and because it brings salvation and vindication to his people. And our benediction comes out of Numbers 6:22-27 from the Expanded Translation. The Lord said to Moses, tell Aaron and his sons, this is how you should bless the Israelites, the sons, the children of Israel. Say to them, may the Lord bless you and keep you and guard you. May the Lord show you his kindness, make his face shine upon you and have mercy on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord watch over you, lift his face, presence, countenance upon you and give you peace. So Aaron and his sons will bless the Israelites with my name, put my name upon the children, the sons of Israel, and I will bless them. And in this way, this is the complete Jewish translation of the last sentence. In this way, they are to put my name on the people of Israel so that I will bless them. Thank you, and may God bless you all.